voice of opinion, unveiling the stories that need to be told. Join Omobola Sandra and Sage Babalola on the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we invoke the thought-provoking discussion, tackle the tough questions, challenge assumption, and give a voice to the unheard. This is the Morning Express on Mainland 98.3 FM.
On the Morning Express.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to Trends in the Papers on Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Time check right now is 7:41 a.m. and it's time for us to look through the major trending stories on the front pages of our papers, and we'll do this up until about 8:30. We take a break, and by 8:40 we are back for Mainland Focus. And that's the part where you, our dear listener, you get to be a part of the conversation. You share your own thoughts and your own analysis as regards to the stories that we're going to be looking through this morning. All right. Well, it is quite a beautiful Wednesday morning, the 31st of July, 2024. And I mean, it's the last day of the month of July. Tomorrow, there's a lot that, is in the air. There's a lot of apprehension whether or not it's going to be or not to be as regards the protest or the planned #End Bad Governance protest. But in light of it all, it's really, really unfortunate, and it breaks my heart this morning to also, break the news, the unfortunate news of the passing of the iconic singer Onyeka Onwenu, who passed in the early hours of this morning, late last night. It really, really is an unfortunate one. Onyeka Onwenu is or was look at that, we have to start using past tense now. Was a Nigerian singer, songwriter, and actress. She was a human rights and social activist. She was also a journalist, in her own right. She was a politician of some sort. And she was dubbed the elegant stallion by the Nigerian press. And every time I hear that, it just brings some sort of joy and just some tingles, especially as a woman, when you are called that, the elegant stallion. She was also the former chairperson of the Imo State Council for Arts and Culture. She has achieved quite a lot. And there's a lot, of songs, notable songs that can be credited to her. She has been nominated for international awards, or she was nominated for international awards. Most notable of her songs, you have One Love, you have Iyogogo, so many other songs like that. And it's just really, really heartbreaking to announce the news of her passing. And she has passed on at the age of 72. I pray that her family, her friends, and her loved ones would, God will grant them the strength to bear this particular loss. Nigeria has lost an icon. Nigeria has lost a gem and a legend. Really, really unfortunate, that one. I just thought to pass that on, but it's really, really unfortunate. I have to break that news this morning. It kind of really hurts. And it's also interesting that, we are getting this on a Wednesday, where here we try to celebrate, womanhood in one way or the other. So, Woman Crush Wednesday for today will be Onyeka Onwenu. Now moving on to the stories that we have for this morning. We have the Punch, the Guardian, and of course Vanguard newspaper in a particular order. The papers are here for us to look through. My name is Omobola Sandra. I will not be doing this alone. I have Fuhad Sahid via the phone line. He'll be giving analysis, in-depth analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. All right. Don't forget, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can drop your analysis, your comments, your submissions as the show progresses in the live chat section on both Facebook and YouTube. At Mainland 98.3 FM, that's the handle to look out for, Mainland 98.3 FM. So please do well to also support us on social media by liking, follow, share, subscribe, our social media. It would really appreciate the support. Now let's kick things off this morning with the Punch newspaper. There's just one or two major headlines on the front page of the Punch, and that's what we're going to be looking at now. But before then, good morning, Fuad. How are you doing?
Good morning, Sandra. How are you doing?
Well, I've been better, but I'm well. I'm sure you've heard of the passing of the elegant stallion.
Oh, you can't win. Yeah, you can't win. This is happened, and I saw the news this morning. I think it happened yesterday. She was at the party of some. I think one of the particular Mrs. Stella Okoli. And then it was said that she slumped down because she was taking the wedding hospital where she passed on. 72. For those of us who grew up listening to music with a lot of message, I think she stands out amongst women of that era. That were able to really come up with music that touches the soul, particularly. Music with deep message, and she was, apart from I think music, actually she did a lot of movies too.
Yeah, she was an actress as well. Yes,
she was also an actress. I knew she featured in a lot of movies.
Yes,
multi-talented woman. At some point she was also a very vocal voice.
Yes.
She was
a social activist of some sort. Yes,
social activist of some sort. So again, it's just one of those things. The debt we all have to pay. Debt will definitely come for every one of us time. At time has come, so we wish her the best afterlife. That's the best way I can commensurate with our family. I know when it comes to there are also other issues I think around the marital status. At some point there were stories as to our relationship with other musicians. I think particularly our own musical legend here, Sonia and all of that. But a very wonderful woman, I must say, and we are so continue to rest.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Let's move on now to the stories that we have for this morning. I'll kick things off with the Punch newspaper. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, and time check right now is 7:48. We're looking through the major trending stories on the front page of our papers. The major headline on the front page of the Punch reads: Hardship protest. Security agencies occupy Abuja venue as IG and organizers disagree. And we have a rider here that says soldier and police in show of force nationwide as court restricts Lagos protest to 2 venues. So the conversation as regards to be or not to be for the planned protest of tomorrow, and what the government is doing, as regards the protest, is it what measures that are being taken, and most notably is the Lagos State conversation, the restriction that has been placed. You can't only hold it at Freedom Park and Peace Park in Ketu. So but then before that, what the report is giving us now is that soldiers and policemen and other security personnel have occupied Eagle Square in Abuja yesterday, which is supposed to be the scheduled venue for the #End Bad Governance protest and in the FCT. So correspondents at the square counted over 300 security operatives at the facility. There were also 26 military vans, 12 police patrol vehicles, a Black Maria, all parked within and around the venue. Also, the security forces took over the square. The IGP, 𝐸𝐻𝐻 and protest organizers have disagreed on the mode of conduct of the demonstration because the IG had a virtual meeting with a group. All right, and the group rejected the police proposal for confined protest. Now, that is where I'm going. Confined protest. So, looking at what we have in Abuja, the show and whatever it is that they are trying to put off, and also the courts, the Attorney General of Lagos has gone to court to say, oh, this is what, please help us to do this and all of that. So what we are getting now is that you can only hold the protest in either Ganifa Park, Freedom Park at Ojota, or Peace Park at Ketu, and the protest must be between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. So once it's 6 p.m., everybody should pack your bags and please go home. Then we'll come back again the next day from 8 a.m. So confined protest for that's the conversation this morning. What are your thoughts as regards what the security agencies have been trying to do in order to, in their own defense, trying to reduce casualties or destruction to the barest minimum?
Well, again, Sandra, because we are not security experts, we are not among the leadership of the Nigerian security network operatives. We are not members of the Nigerian police. We are not members of the DSS. We are not also members of the Nigerian army, who I assume have a very rich intelligence unit. When I say rich now, sophisticated intelligence unit, to pick ahead of time if there are going to be trouble with anything in the country. So one would assume that all of this, I want to assume that all of this effort now, by the Nigerian military, by the Nigerian police, by the DSS, everybody involved as far as security is concerned in Nigeria, I'm hoping and I want to assume that coming from an intelligence gathering network that seems to show that there are people waiting on the sidelines, to cause trouble from this particular.
Maybe there's something that they know that that is making them to take all of this drastic action.
All of this, because these are, look, Sandra, I don't think on one singular issue we've seen our security operatives get so committed to stopping something. I even doubt whether they have the same commitment to stopping kidnapping, banditry, and other security issues. I don't know if I'm making sense, Sandra.
Yes,
you understand what
I'm with you, Ford.
Because the effort is so robust. You have practical movements, you have statements that are so coordinated, everybody is saying the same thing, they seem to sync and align all at the same time. You understand, Sandra? So again, whatever the security operatives are doing, in the name of ensuring that trouble does not break out, the country does not descend into chaos, for me it's a welcome development. But again, we need to ask ourselves, if the job of the Nigerian police and all these other security operatives is to protect the protester and the non-protester, we need to also ask ourselves if we're already seeing situations of double standard in all of this conversation. And I'll tell you why, Sandra. Now, go on social media. Apart from social media, Sandra, I was watching TV yesterday, and practically I saw prominent Nigerians. These are not on, because again, if the government says, the police is saying they already know some troublemakers, they have intelligence about some troublemakers. Sandra, what then would our security operative be saying about people who go on TV and are practically threatening protesters? They are not hiding it. Mujahideen Tʀᴇɪᴅs was on TV yesterday, and he was not doing it in his own private confines or whatever. It was on TV. The thing was organized by the NDDC, the Niger Delta Development Commission. That's a commission that has not been able to do anything reasonable for their people in the Niger Delta. That's a commission that is a complete circuit of corruption. That NDDC. That's one commission that has gotten a humongous amount of allocation and money and have not been able to do anything tangible. When I say tangible, nothing reasonable for their people in the Niger Delta. But they were quick to yesterday hold a particular meeting, and all they were saying practically, from the MD of the NDDC to every other person that came up on stage, instead of them discussing critical issues as to how to hold the leadership of the NDDC accountable to bring meaningful development to the Niger Delta, it was about protest. Everything was to demonize and threaten protesters. People that you have not even seen. The protesters, as time was, see, people come up with all manner of sentiments, they come up with all manner of things. Again, all of these sentiments are coming from, a lot of people, now where did they chop? Their brain they go. I chop my brain thinks that this is just what it is, really, Sandra. And what we are saying, what we are saying on this side of the divide is that, are we really running a democracy? We need to ask ourselves, Sandra. Because the statements we are getting, the things we are hearing, it is strange into democracy. Whether anybody likes it or not, you can come up with your own sentiment. You can continue to deceive yourself. You can continue with your own hypocrisy. As to what should be.
I'm also going to look at it from the angle of Fuad. I'm sure you've seen the anti-protesters protesting against the protest.
Against the protest. I told you that was a mental issue. It's a mental health challenge.
To understand what exactly that means, but you know,
you say you are anti-protester and you're actually protesting against the protest. That's mental health issues now. That's clearly a mental health issue. Wait, Sandra. Okay. I started to keep on his words was saying, the right you have to protest is the right I also have to resist protest. Me, I know the high damo. The Senate president was on seat. I know the high damo. You bring your protest close to me, you collect water. Sandra.
You know, these are the undertones that they are also complaining about. So
if the police is complaining about violent undertone, there are people who are not even coming out and already threatening people. There are the people that are not even bringing out the violent undertone, and the police have turned their eyes away from it. They are more concerned about people who have not even started any protest. They are more concerned about people who are not even saying anything violent about their protest. Since there's nobody, look, at 𝐴ᴏᴜᴛ SAS has come out to say that, look, I stand for a group that is also part of this protest. Is it not a known person? You see, again, I think to a great extent the government has done a fantastic job in demonizing this protest. And I must say that whether we like it or not, we are already seeing the power of the government. That indeed, if the government is committed to doing something, they have all it takes, Sandra, to get that thing done. From the way the government has been able, even before the start of this protest, to demonize it, to pull groups out of it, to get everybody from traditional rulers, civil society organizations, everybody is making statements, commissions, everybody is waiting concern the NDDC with strike or with protest or no protest. But everybody has to come. So it shows the power of the government that if indeed they want to solve a problem, Sandra, they have the capacity, they have the network, they have the wherewithal to solve the problem. And that's what we see with how the government has been able to address this idea of the protest. Everybody was got on board.
The union,
and now demanding.
The unionism and the support that a lot of groups have given in recent times, and especially leaders of thought of different sectors coming together to ensure that this protest doesn't hold. The energy has actually been.
Can't you see the power of the government there, Sandra?
Exactly. But let's come back now to this report from the Punch, where Oluwadegboruwa, solicitor for the protest organizers, have rejected this confined protest conversation. He said, and I quote, "We agree that the citizens of Nigeria are entitled to protest and that the police will not do anything that will hinder or jeopardize the area of that right. That was a basic thing we all agreed upon. We also agree that the police have a statutory duty to offer protection to citizens whenever they protest. Our area of disagreement was the area of confinement. The police prefer, based on the venue sent to them, we should protest in a confined arena. We insisted that we have a right to rally and embark on a procession. They said they don't have the manpower that would go around across all cities." That's what he's saying, that as regards the conversation with the police force. A procession is movement. They're going to be going round and trying to speak and all of that, and this meeting of policemen and human rights lawyer Femi Falana was also a part of that particular meeting. Some other key members of the Take It Back movement and other civil society organizations were part of that particular meeting, and in what appeared to have been a setback for the group, the Lagos State High Court has restricted protesters participating in the upcoming nationwide protest to specific locations within the state. So now talking just if it's not Freedom Park, if it's not Peace Park, you are against. So if you are there's
an ex party order immediately just to restrict just an interim injunction, and the court ruled on that. Yes, I'm with you.
So for what? Basically, I can't. So basically, I cannot protest. I'm not allowed to protest. The law that is supposed to give
Sandra,
me the right to protest is telling me I can't protest outside of
unless you go to Freedom Park or you go to Freedom Park. Okay, let's say for example, I just want to stand in front of my house and raise the Nigerian flag and begin to say that, look, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, hear me out.
You have run
I'm suffering because you have to go to the Freedom Park.
You have to go to Freedom Park.
Or you go to Garify and
and it must be between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m.
So see, again, Sandra,
oh Lord.
you know we're on radio, so that's why.
Please, I understand.
There's a lot that I would have said.
It's okay.
But because you're on radio,
but let's look at this sufficient manpower conversation. Saying that the police in Lagos State do not have sufficient manpower to provide security for protesters intending to demonstrate across all local government and public highways. Coming from Lawal Pedro, the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice for Lagos State.
Sandra, but where is this illusion coming from? Where is this imaginary thought coming from that, look, the protest is going to turn violent?
They are referring to the EndSARS, October 20 EndSARS.
That's the only protest we've ever had in this country. And we said it that the issue of the EndSARS, was actually very unfortunate because, again, we have said it. The protesters at that time have a fair share of the blame. And the security operatives and the government too should also take a part of the blame as to how the EndSARS protest at that time descended into chaos and crisis. It could have been avoided. I said it at that time. For people who follow me, who know my position at that time, even friends and family members, some of them became my enemy because of my position at that time on the EndSARS protest. And what was my position? That look, this protest started very well. But when the protesters started blocking roads, I knew they were already crossing the line and it was going to degenerate into chaos and crisis. And that was what happened eventually. And I also blame the government for tolerating the ideas of the protesters blocking the roads. They should have been dispatched early. Immediately they started leaving some of these other areas and they were already blocking and mounting things on the road. The government could have moved in at that time before it became a widespread problem. I also blame the governor of Lagos State at that time for tolerating that for too long until it became a problem. He kept traveling from Lagos to Abuja, whereas he was supposed to have taken charge of the situation before it became a problem. So what we are saying is that look, we've learned our lesson from the EndSARS protest, but that is not enough, Sandra, to demonize the idea of a protest in a democracy. Unless we are no longer running democracy, that's what I'm saying. And we have to be careful the seed we are sowing today, Sandra. All of these people that are coming out and doing all manner, they will also be on the other side tomorrow and they want to protest. I know. We will not be alive to see it because it is strange to me unless someone is going to wake me up and begin to educate me what democracy is about. It is strange to me that in a democracy, this is the rhetoric we are getting. This is the conversation we are having. That the so-called Democrats of yesteryear, when I say Democrats, they even call themselves the progressives. The people that fought the military to a standstill, protesting, going out to advocate for the rights of the people and the return to democracy, who claim they understand the principles and tenets of democracy as it concerns the fundamental rights of the people, are the ones today who have suddenly become the preachers against protest, and they are even doing it without any shame. Sandra.
All right. Now let's also
the
look at this.
The people we knew in the past, we are not knowing them again, Sandra.
You keep saying that. You keep saying
I'm telling you, Sandra.
All right, let's also very quickly look at this massive security deployment at the Eagle Square in Abuja. This is 5 minutes past 8 and you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. So this massive security deployment in Abuja at Eagle Square, yes. Don't you think it will spark some sort of fear among people in that particular area that what's going on? Can I walk? Can I move? What do you think that would do to the atmosphere in the FCT at this time?
Look, Sandra, the atmosphere is already charged. I must tell you. In fact, there are people who are not very apprehensive. In fact, there are parents who, of course, a lot of the children are on holidays, but they have this summer class going on.
Yeah.
I've seen parents who are saying that look, their kids are not going to leave the house. I've seen some employers who are even telling their staff to stay at home. You understand? You know, banks are already issuing statements. Their staff to be very careful out there. So the atmosphere is already charged. There's that apprehension, there's tension and all of that. And the deployment of security operatives also put, you know, a lot of pressure on the minds of the people. And as we speak, you also have situations where this is already becoming an ethnic issue. There's already ethnic coloration to the conversation. Sandra, people are already coming out now to say, if you want to protest, go to your state, go to, I'm like, a lot of the people, especially in this our Lagos, this our Lagos state. I've seen all manner of things. I've seen all manner of videos on social media. Again, I really don't want to watch too much with what we see on social media. But with some of the things we've seen on social media, I'm like, is this how we want to continue to handle the conversation around nation building, the sentiments, the lies, the hypocrisy? Look, no nation is built with lies, sentiment, and hypocrisy.
Right.
People won't get things done in terms of nation building. Do it with sincerity of purpose, commitment, truthfulness, and the right under a democracy to be able to speak truth to power. There are a lot of people that are shouting anti-protest, and some of them never chop today. You see that some of them are go around with some hungry faces. I'm telling you that, look, Sandra, the police has a job to do. It's a very simple position.
Speaking of the police having...
protect the protester and the non-protester.
All right. Speaking of the police having a lot to do, we also have here Deji Adeyanju, human rights lawyer, who seems displeased with the military deployment. Especially, there's a joint detachment of soldiers and policemen at around Gwagwalada, still in the FCT. So he has urged the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tʀᴇɪᴅs Iɣ to withdraw soldiers deployed across the FCTs. He said, and I quote in a letter addressed to the Chief of Army Staff, we write as a pro-human rights law firm to draw your attention to the disturbing deployment of men of the Nigerian Army across the FCT and other cities in an attempt to suppress the scheduled August 1, 2024 national protest. The task of providing internal security, including the protection of protesters during the scheduled protest, lies with the Nigeria Police Force and not the Nigerian Army. You may also recall that at all times when the armed forces intervened in any protest, including the recent Kenya protest, such protests often escalated into full-blown riots, leading to loss of lives and property. It is on the premise of the foregoing that we urge you to withdraw your men back to the barracks, as we do not want a repeat of soldiers killing protesters as was witnessed during EndSARS. And that's, from Deji Adeyanju to the Chief of Army Staff. It's quite a long read. We may want to actually look deeper into that. The story is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and that's as regards the hardship protest and all of whether it's all the preparation and the measures that are being taken by the government against the protest, or against a violent protest. Let me put it that way.
You know what, Sandra?
Yes.
Like I said yesterday to Sage, this protest may happen, may not happen. It may happen with maybe one or two people, or maybe groups successfully putting out a message. But the message has been passed, whether the protest happens or not, Sandra. The message has been passed. And I also say that, look, opinions may differ on why the protest should happen or not happen. You understand? Of course, the EndSARS has been the golden standard now in the minds of the government and the anti-protest people, which is not a problem. We cannot decide. Sandra, Nigerians are suffering. Repeat it again. One of the two protests. That hashtag end kidnap. Once we turn to the farm, let the farmers breathe. Let them be able to go to the farm. And Nigerians will follow them. Nigerians will support the government. This is your protest. Yeah? And so let them use this.
Thank you very much, Said Fahad. It's 11 protest, IG and organizers Lagos protest to 2 venues. And as vessels burst.
Container don't lie. Sandra, when the name died, I was prepared
to abate, even as parts of the country have persisted. The tanks have run dry in filling stations. Dealers have disclosed that petrol vessels were bursting at the port, one after the other, saying this may not be enough to rescue the situation. According to them, depot owners now supply fuel to their filling station only due to low supply. All right. So the depots are not wet yet. We are still doing epileptic loading. No product for third parties. The depots are prioritizing their own station, and that's always the case for depot operators. They will prefer to keep their stations wet to promote customer loyalty. So independent marketers will be left in the cold.
They also have to, if they want, they will have to buy from maybe fourth party suppliers. There's a lot of short practices going on.
So the more parties that are involved, the more we're going to pay.
Look, Sandra, I've been buying at 850 naira per liter. At the NNPCL filling station, Sandra, it still being sold at 585 naira per liter. That margin that you get between what the NNPCL filling stations are selling and other markets, and that's why it's because it's around Lagos. So I'm sure in some other parts of the country now, you probably will buy at maybe 900, almost 1,000 naira per liter.
Yeah.
But I have been buying at 850 naira per liter from all of these independent marketers because I really cannot spend these long hours. Because if you're going to get at the major marketers now, like the NNPC filling station, you're going to spend like 1 or 2 hours. And I do have that time. But what I'm telling you is that margin you are seeing is stretched between 585 and 850 naira per liter. There are people making easy money, cashing out seriously.
You also have
so when you have
on one side, though, 1513.
This one are official black marketers. They are not, the black marketers are the ones on the street who use care to sell to people. But I'm saying that look, that margin you see, that price margin, is creating room for people to feed fast on the suffering of ordinary Nigerians. But all of that is coming as a result of supply shortfall, Sandra. If there was enough, if there's a lot of wetness around, the supply of the product is in abundance, there won't be need for all of these things you are saying. So that margin you are seeing, there are people making this business for me because again, the independent marketers will have to buy from maybe third party or fourth party, and in between the price keeps going up and what have you. But for the NNPCL, now that container don't land and we should start to down, when again will the next scarcity happen? Again, as it is, I'm sure that this will linger for like another 1 week before we begin to have some solutions. But what I'm saying is that look, they should always give us advance notice. You understand? As to when the next scarcity would happen.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? It's not too much for them to do for us now, Sandra.
I don't know if it's possible, but it will go a long way if people know that. Okay, next
there
will not be fuel because there's no.
Yeah, there are people who keep asking me questions as to why I keep questioning the competence of military and all of these other guys in the Nigerian oil sector who manage the Nigerian oil sector. And I say that look, for what they've done for several years, decades after decades, there's no way you will not begin to question their competence. Sandra, we can't run functional refineries. Sandra, we can't produce enough crude oil to feed our local refinery as an oil producing nation. Okay, we've even tolerated that for years. So now we even go out there and bring in refined product. It's also a problem, Sandra.
Well, that's on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. More details, we can get as regards for crisis and the birthing of these new vessels. Whether or not it will solve this current crisis that we are going through, is time will tell. Moving on now very quickly, finally from the front page of the Punch newspaper, referendum, Yoruba Nation agitators, a writing reminder to Tinubu, says Igboho. So, Yoruba Nation agitator Sunday Adeyemo, popularly known as Sunday Igboho, has said the group would write another letter to President Bola Tinubu demanding a referendum to enable Yoruba people to break away from Nigeria. And he said the reminder became necessary following the president's refusal to accede to the request of the group for a referendum by the end of June. So,
Igboho is speaking for who, precisely?
The struggle for Yoruba Nation.
Which Yoruba Nation?
Which
Yoruba Nation is he talking about? Is it my own Yoruba Nation?
Are you not a Yoruba man?
You see, I've warned you about all of these groups, all of these people who just come out disturbing us with all manner of nonsense rhetoric. And that's why, again, government creates these opportunities for these individuals to come up and begin to sell all of these false narratives and all of this nonsense in the minds of the people. And they pretend as if they are even serious human beings. These are not even serious people. I'm sure the man is not even in the country. I doubt if he's in the country. The man called Sunday Igboho as we speak.
You know.
And if you talk about Yoruba nation, what are you saying?
You know, he said that they are not going to join the proposed national hunger protest.
And that's his problem. I have the right not to join now.
He said the aim of the demonstration is not in line with aspiration of the Yoruba nation agitators.
I don't even understand what they mean by Yoruba nation, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm a Yoruba man, and I'm so proud to be a Nigerian. I don't even understand where the idea of their nonsense referendum is coming from. Referendum on what precisely? That we want to break it. We break away to where precisely? To where? To go and do what?
That's a very valid question.
And become what? Under what structure? These are people who don't even know what they are saying. To start with.
To be what under what structure? Under
what structure? What are they? If you own the WHOSONsAᴘOLD, you see the problem now.
That's what he's saying. It's under the umbrella of Ìlànà Oòduà, headed by Professor Banji Akintoye.
Let Professor Banji Akintoye come and take me up on what he's saying, and you even see that the professor doesn't even know what he's saying. You see, we have a lot of problems. You see, the funny thing is that these are people who deliberately distract us from real issues. They are so deliberate, they are so intentional about bringing up these conversations to take your eyes away from the real issues when it comes to nation building. And they keep coming up with those rhetorics. They are so positioned. They have the media to also help ventilate some of these nonsensical territories. Nobody is breaking out from anywhere, as far as we are concerned. We understand that, look, the structure of the country has its own challenges. But whether we like it or not, we are still Nigerians. We can remain Nigerians, and we can even make the country work. That's why when people talk about even in Nnamdi Kanu, I say, look, I agree that at this level, Nnamdi Kanu should be released. But when they now come up with the idea of unconditional release, I think there's a problem. Nnamdi Kanu should be released with a condition to renounce violence against the Nigerian state. That indeed, yes, I agree that it should be released. There should be a political solution to its release. But it can't be unconditional. Because once you pick up arms or encourage the picking up of arms against the Nigerian state, the government actually will respond. So even if it's going to be released, the condition should be that it should renounce any form of violence against the Nigerian state.
Thank you very much.
We can't go down the country because people are agitated. We'll continue to have this conversation to get our leaders to commit to nation building. And that's how we are going to continue to do it. One nation call.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad, for your passionate, and in-depth analysis. Appreciate it. Time check is 8:21 a.m. and it is still trends in the papers on mainland 98.3 FM. Now, right here we're live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you to everyone who's with us on Facebook. You can drop your comments as the show progresses. We'll take them when we move on to mainland focus. Now, moving on to the Guardian newspaper, the major headline there reads, real estate, slow justice system compounds investment uptake, and 100 billion naira lost yearly. So what we have here is Lagos records over 3,000 property litigations in 4 years, 100 billion naira lost to frivolous court cases yearly. Land dispute accounts for 30% of Nigeria's 27.5 million legal problems. Average case conclusion time in Nigeria is between 12 to 18 months and 20 years in extreme cases. And I think we are very familiar with quite a few of those extreme cases. Extreme cases.
Remember the Magodo case?
That's the one I was going to refer to, the Magodo case. So this slow justice system, I think, is something that we've always talked about when we're talking about electoral, court cases and all of that. Now we're looking at the real estate situation, especially where you have family problem coming up, or all this omonile conversation, and then you also have some government issues as well, where you have you purchase land, taking into account what happened to some people in Lekki in recent times, and also the ones that are in Ajawo Estate as well in recent times. So despite the significant contribution of the real estate reason in courts and limiting the potential of diligence.
Check. All manner of sharp practices we have in the real estate sector, they are to a very disturbing level. And that's why you see brilliant advertorial advertisements, and at the end of the day, people put in their money only to discover that, look, there's really nothing that they've been able to buy, practically. So it's just very important for people to be very careful with it. Look before you leave. Check the track record of the person talking to you. What have they been able to do before? Do they have projects that you can point to and say, oh, you were able to deliver this? If you were able to, they're not even developers. They're just mere land speculators. And a lot of times, what they want to achieve is to just mop up people's money and then fiam. You don't see them again. But on the issue of the courts, also being a problem to real estate investment, I think that's one fact. Look at the Magodo case, for example. Remember that there was a time we brought their lawyers into the studio, the lawyers of the Magodo family, and they said that they've been in court since 1985 or so on the Magodo case. And I think they got judgment sometimes, I think it was around, and that's what you have too. I've seen people, they will tell you, we have this land though, but there's a court case on it. You have several court cases, and you also have frivolous cases to people just deliberately taking advantage of our court processes to just initiate all manner of legal proceedings when it comes to real estate. Really, I think we should also begin to not. It's supposed to be one sector that can bring.
Well, findings have shown that with many of the landlord project fail legally through forgery. It's really unfortunate. But then I think what, as Fuad has rightly mentioned, do your due diligence. True. When it is looking too good to be paper, there's also empty money in the ATM, but POS is going up.
ATM no get money, but POS just across the road get cash.
The story is on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. Attention as joint security forces parade Ibadan. That's on page 5 and still on this zones. That's on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Yobe State gives 1,781
persons or you see, because you are in the city. I think the goats are going to they just calm down. Oh my goodness! How many goats? Let's start with the number.
Okay, so what we have is that they've been empowered with goats to boost employment and food.
How many women with how many goats?
Okay, so 356 female goats and 178 male goats for breeding.
They're going to mate and begin to be procreate now. That's what we're saying.
So 10 women were selected for breeding of goats.
10 women will get how many female goats now?
So no. Wait. Okay, there are 178 wards.
Okay.
In each ward, 10 women were selected for breeding.
Okay, for the breeding of the goats. Oh, it's okay. Now, this is livestock, the farming that we have.
To render stuff the Guardian newspaper, we have
don't want that in Lagos.
We have run out of time. Also here.
Stand up before you saw a governor that gave people wheelbarrow as empowering. Want to go into livestock?
They will not go hungry and kill the goats.
If they kill the, they say it's for breeding, or they don't go and eat it.
Ohaneze faction knocks Obi over endorsement of protest. That's on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have here, address Nigerians, reshuffle cabinet to stave off protest. Ex-SGF tells. Yes, thank you.
You know Babaja Lawal, the man that fought God.
Fuad, guys.
That's the man. Now.
This will be letting things go. I will just leave that.
No, it's so that people will know the person talking now.
But there are other things that you could have, used. To describe.
That was what came to my mind. You can help me with other things. That was just came to my mind. Right. It was the man that called.
As I said, we have totally run out of time. Vanguard newspaper, the major headline, they're still on the protest conversation. Organizers list convergence points for rallies. Yes, you can get that on page 5 of Vanguard. There's quite a lot to take away from the Guardian, the Vanguard report rather, of the protests as organizers list convergence point for the rallies. And so many other stories that we have on the front page here. We also have here above the masthead, federal government hands over 400 CNG kits to transporters in 4 states, and that's also on the front page of Vanguard.
400 CNG kits to 4 states. That's 100 per state.
Yes.
And so that will solve a problem.
It's a head start. It's a beginning. It's a humble beginning. Very humble.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Just like that. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back after the break for Mainland Focus, and that's the part where you get to be a part of the conversation. We see quite a number of messages on Facebook. We'll take them when we come back from the break. It is still Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos. Please stay tuned.